Hurling on Off the Ball.
With Board Gosh Energy. Hurling, it's anyone's game.
Yeah, hurling, it's anyone's game. Off the Ball has teamed up with Senior Hurling Championship sponsors Board Gosh Energy to uncover stories highlighting the positive impact that hurling has had on people's lives. For full competition details, please visit boardgoshenergy.ie/BGEGAA. Now, Anthony Nash is with us. Anthony, good afternoon, good evening to you. How are you?
I'm great. I just had to close the door of the car. I left it open there for a second to leave a bit of, I won't say cold air in. I'm not built for this weather at all, Ger.
Your colour would suggest otherwise, Anthony.
Golf 10, Ger. Golf 10, yeah. Hence, I had a pour round there this morning, but all ready to go now.
Come here. I wanted to ask you about home advantage and the decision of Clare to move the game to Limerick. If they win, this is going to be seen as one of the all-time great moves, and they've just won there recently, and also it kind of it just rekindles, not that they needed rekindling, but it cements a bond with the supporters, preventing them from having to go the 2 hours down to Cork. But if they lose, it'll be like, oh, you know, you're giving home advantage to them. So is home advantage the familiarity, in your view, is home advantage the familiarity with the surrounds, or is it actually the number of fans who are going to be there? Because as a Munster final, it should be 50-50. So what's your instinct about this whole story?
I think it's probably the only two counties that would have done it. The fact, I think I said this to you before, that a lot of those Clare lads would have gone to school in Limerick, especially college in Limerick, and would be well used to there. So it's not a huge change for the players themselves. I'm sure they met as a team and made a decision on it together. I wasn't expecting it. I thought that Limerick voted for Cork. I thought Clare might have said Thurles or something like that, but to go to the Gaelic grounds is an interesting one, and cute move. Cute Kerry Hoare is what we say down here, but it's a cute Clare move as well, because are you putting the pressure on the Limerick players? I'm sure they're happy to be there, obviously, but it obviously isn't that big a deal for the Clare players if they're after deciding to go down there. Just add something else to what potentially is going to be an amazing day, especially after the results. We all thought to be Tipperary and someone, Tipperary and Clare, but it's an interesting move with the Clare team and Clare County Board. Yeah.
Would you assume that the players were consulted? Is that the type of thing that
big time?
Yeah.
Oh, big time. And if they weren't, of course they were. There's no way Brian Lohan would let that slide across the county board or vice versa. Players were asked, and I'm sure it was just a thing of, we don't mind where we go. To be honest, as you said, they just won there. They're all used to playing there. It's literally in the road. And I definitely think I'd agree with you what you said then. There was, as soon as the Munster final pairing was up, you could see in Twitter there, the way Twitter, I don't follow a lot of people from Clare or Limerick or whatever, but, when someone else follows them, it pops up. It's like the drive to Cork is this, that and the other, and all the traffic and all this, everyone's giving out. So the fact that the Clare supporters are after getting something closer to home, it's going to make a huge difference to them. So it's definitely going to kind of throw a bond between them and the players, as you said, but it's going to be a cracking day. The ticket sales have shown that already. That I think they were up within seconds and gone. So it's going to be a huge day out.
Yeah, it's turning into a proper brilliant rivalry, and the fact that they'll have played twice last year and twice this year is kind of incredible.
I'm sweating here, no, Joe, sorry. When I was growing up, I supported Limerick, so in 94 and 96 I would have followed, obviously, my uncles to the All-Ireland final. 95 and 97 Clare came, so I think I've always referred to this before. It didn't matter how good or bad a Clare and Limerick team was, the rivalry was always there, and there was always a tightness between the two teams, and that was epitomised this year with or last year even in the Munster final, and this year with the game itself, that Limerick were the dominant force in Ireland last year, but yet Clare took them to extra time. Limerick are the dominant force in Ireland this year, and Clare beat them. So there's always something between the two teams, that the hatred, or the rivalry was always there. And I think everyone else, bar Limerick supporters last week, were hoping that Cork and Tip and Clare went through. So I think the fact that Limerick are through in this Limerick Clare Munster final is going to throw a bit of an extra rivalry into that. In the fact that it's such a big day itself.
How are Limerick playing? Are they starting to get slightly back to themselves?
Yeah, I think so. We see Tom Morrissey had a fantastic game. I think Gerard Hegarty was like I kind of said to you there, that form is temporary and class is forever. And Keane's obviously carrying an injury, and I think that the longer he's in the championship and being minded, the better he'll get. I think that the one thing I've noticed from John Kiley is he's he's starting to spring backs from the bench, bring on English, a lot more than he would have before. So energy-wise from the back line. So he's still using his panel, but look, the longer you leave Limerick in the championship, I think the more that you're going to get, scared. I referred to you last week that, they're one game away from scaring the shit out of the country. Like, I wouldn't say the Cork one was that, but I still think that there's that fear in every team. And it's a free shot. Both Clare and Limerick have a free shot now. It's a Munster medal, of course, and that means a lot to people. But it's a free shot because you're still there.
The only thing about the free shot is if you're Clare, you probably feel the ghosts of last year where, it was such an incredible game. Tony Kelly's equaliser, they eventually lose in the circumstances they lose. They gather themselves, put in an okay performance against a Wexford team who weren't great, and then just get blown out by Kilkenny, where it didn't feel like they did justice to themselves after this. Now, that's not a million miles away from the 95 team. I think we're beaten out the gate in the 93 final, 94 final, get better, 95 final, eventually in Munster win it. So you hope there's a progression with the group that even if they do lose it, they'll be able to be okay afterwards. But I'd say there's still feel a little bit like they kind of need to win this if they're going to be in the All-Ireland semi-final feeling comfortable about life.
There's Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So I think after last year's final, I think John Conlon and Tony Kelly were probably the two lads that you said were the last two people they wanted to lose off the team. John Conlon was off the team and Mikey Butler man-marked Tony Kelly out of the game against Kilkenny. So I think that they'll learn from that. Even if Limerick do turn them over and they do win, obviously it's not something that Clare want. I don't think they'll have the same, and I wouldn't say drop off because, to be fair, I've suffered with back injuries and I looked down at Croke Park. I was doing co-commentary and I just looked at John Conlon and I went, Jesus Christ, I think they sent him out to do a bit of a jog. And I was like, there's no way this guy is playing. He's had back spasms. So I think that, they'll learn from that. They've had experience at Croke Park and a failure. So, and I think Brian Lohan, as well as the players, will look at that. So, look, come here, it's Clare and Limerick in the Gaelic grounds. They're after agreeing to go there. I don't think you could up the rivalry anymore, and I think that's all they'll be focused on. And if they lose, they'll go again. They'll look and see what can we do to improve. But neither team will be looking past it. And I think this is the one shot at Limerick, as in for Limerick, that they say teams are writing us off. Let's go out and throw the shackles off. Let's see where it takes us, and they'll use this as well. If Limerick go out the next day and put in a performance again, like I said to you, the rest of the country is looking at it, and I haven't seen enough from Leinster at the moment. Including Kilkenny, to say that. Someone's going to stand up to them.
Well, I did want to, I think around about this time last year, we were starting to have conversations about maybe these are the two best teams in the country and maybe there's going to be a trilogy. And in fairness, Kilkenny stopped that from happening. But if Clare had performed to the level we thought they were capable of, then maybe they might have beaten Kilkenny, And I realise it's a completely hypothetical situation, but you wouldn't really be shocked if we were to fast forward 5 weeks and be previewing the All-Ireland final, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened, a trilogy between these two teams. But poor Clare, they've beaten Limerick twice, and here they are, they've got to beat them a third time.
Yeah, I think look, Galway on a day they can beat anyone. I've always said that before. There was awful similarities before between our team that I played with and Galway. There was which Galway are going to turn up. I'm going to predict them a Munster winner, which is probably an easy prediction, and people listening in are going to go, you really put your neck out there for that one, But I just think, especially the way the last weekend went, and with the injuries Kilkenny are now facing, if Adrian Mullen is out for a long time, whatever. But look, I still have Limerick as favourites, Clare as second favourites, and then tipping Kilkenny for me, because I just thought Galway against Dublin the last day, with all due respects to both counties who might be listening in going, feck you, but they just haven't shown enough to the public to kind of say, look, we're All-Ireland title contenders, you know what I mean? So they're the top four for me. Tipperary will be gutted. They should be in the Munster final. There's no point saying otherwise. All they had to do was go against the Water team that's already out and lose by less than 5 points. So I'm sure Liam Cahill is sitting down going, Jesus Christ, lads, we had an opportunity. But still contenders, on the day, having drawn with Limerick. But for me, it's still Limerick.
Yeah. Briefly on the Galway situation, so they were abysmal for 45 minutes, or else Dublin are way better than we think. And Michael Donoghue, very, very smart manager, so you wouldn't be surprised if they are making progress. But then Galway were great for 20 minutes, absolutely rapacious, really starving and ball sticking. You're kind of going, wow, how do you go from Jekyll to Hyde so quickly?
Yeah, like for me, the big thing was that you've two great managers. I think we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. For me, I am anyway, because in fairness, I don't know who, like, what he's done with Galway, and even the way he comes across and everything like that. And then obviously Sheffield is as good as he is, so I'm giving both counties the benefit of the doubt. But like, I still wonder how good both teams are. Still, for me, the Kingpins in Leinster or Kilkenny, and I know that might be overturned and might lose, but like if you're looking at last year's campaign and you're looking at this year, then Kilkenny still are the Kingpins of Leinster. And then for me, it's Galway 2, Dublin 3, but maybe I'm wronging Dublin with Liam or with I don't know, but it's, I don't know. And do you know what? I got tricked into this last year, and I'm probably getting tricked into it again, where I thought the excitement of Munster really separated the teams, and then you just say Kilkenny turned Clare over. And maybe I'm being a Munster snob down here by saying that, but I just still think that the life, the excitement, the hurling, the ability, that I just still think that it's going to be a Munster winner somehow. And again, like I said a while ago, it's Limerick followed by Clare, and then after that.
As a manager, how pissed off would you be with the fact that your team is capable of putting in that 10-15 minute burst to rescue a game and a situation, but that you were like double-digit points down in a game where you're massive favourites for? Like, or maybe they're doing something else. Maybe they're periodising for a Leinster final they knew they were getting into anyway that we're unaware of, and so he's actually okay with it, but gives them good ammunition to go in and put a rocket up their holes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like, the positive is that you have a video analysis session that can go, this is how good we are when we do this, and this is how poor we are when we do this. I thought for me it was the delivery into the forward line. Jesus Christ, Conor Whelan was the most frustrated man in Croke Park. Like, he was standing inside waiting for deliveries, and either the shot was going wide or the delivery was poor. And I'm kind of going, like, when you have an athlete like that and a forward like that, Dublin had an extra man back, I get that, but he just kept fouling fellas in because he was so frustrated. And I'm kind of going, give him the chance, give him a 50-50 ball and see what he does. Because to be fair to Conor Whelan, even if it's 1 and 3 against him, he's down low on his haunches and he's fighting for that ball. And I think a lot of the older fellas or the better fellas, even the likes of Conor Cooney, like, without Joe Cooney shooting in the first half, Galway were home and hose, or Dublin were home and hose. Like, I thought Joseph Cooney in the middle of the field was, I think he's after, whatever player Henry Shefflin's after taking over and pushing on, it's definitely him. I think he's become one of the best hurlers in the country. And then, like, the one thing that surprised me at the start of this year, and it surprised me, was that Davy Burke went from full back to centre back, and Gerard McInerney went the opposite way. And then when Davy Burke came into the game, I was kind of going, oh, that's why he did it. Obviously the goal was the massive one and everything like that, and he was, go forward. He was going forward more, but I think Henry's going to sit back and go, look, we've done okay, we've got to the Leinster final, this is what we've always wanted, and let's push on from here. And again, look, they'll be at least in an All-Ireland series, but look, they want to win it, obviously, but I just think that there's a lot more improvement in Galway. Like, I think that their play to the forward line wasn't very similar to what Sheffield wants. He was pulling his hair out on the sideline if the delivery's in it. So. Yeah,
okay. We obviously have plenty of time to talk about that final and the aftermath of it as well. Not much more time for us to talk about Cork because they're gone. So what happened?
Okay, strangely enough, as a Cork person who's just been knocked out of Munster, I think it was a positive season. So as a Cork supporter, you can't go along the street and meet a fella from Cork and go, you really didn't give it a go anyway, did you? You can't say that. Like, they fought, whatever. We're obviously lacking a player or two somewhere. You're hoping that fellas that are younger will get older and get more mature. You're hoping that the older fellas who, the 3 standout performances for me were Shemi Harney, Demi Callahan and Patrick Horgan, the 3 senior statements. And Hoggy is Hoggy. I think he put the ghost of last year to bed. And I won't go into it now because I got slated, I think, on off the ball actually by a certain person. So I'll stay away from why he wasn't playing last year, but like, Hoggy is still the best forward in Cork.
We just lost you there. We're getting to the good bits here, the juicy bits, and the line has gone down. We will get that back. A reminder that all of our hurling on Off the Ball is brought to you in association with Senior Hurling Championship sponsors Bord Gáis Energy. Hurling is anyone's game, and we've teamed up with them to uncover stories highlighting the positive impact that hurling has on people's lives. For full competition details, visit bordgasenergy.ie/BGEGAA. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Anthony in a moment.
Hurling on Off the Ball
with Bord Gáis Energy. Hurling, it's anyone's game.
Okay, we're back. Your iPhone overheated there. You can't trust the technology these days.
A very Irish problem, Ger, as you know yourself. The iPhone overheated. So I'm after moving the car to go into the shade. Like, not that I ever thought that that'd be an issue here. not complaining, but yeah. Jesus Christ.
What's rare is wonderful. We were talking about Cork just before we get into it, right?
Yeah.
Like I do think summer hurling, I think hurling is a summer sport, really, and I think it's a different game slightly. And I don't know, I'm kind of disappointed that just as the weather gets good, we're not going to see some of these teams, particularly, especially this year, Cork. It just doesn't. Anyway, it's the structures are what they are, and we're not going to fix them now. But I just think it's worth noting.
Yeah, like, do you know what? I think it was Brian Carroll came out and said, cue the Munster faithful that want every Munster team in the championship. But like, I get what he's saying. I do, and I'm not disagreeing with him. But I also look and I kind of say, you know, at the moment, the Munster teams are stronger, and that's all I'm saying at the moment. Then, you know, Cork lost to Clare by a point, Cork lost to Limerick by a point, Cork drew to Tipperary, and they're out of the championship. And look, it's just the way it is. It's, you know, we all voted for the, you know, like, I'm still a believer in the split season. Is there any perfect solution? I genuinely don't know. But for a Cork player, like, you're going to see an awful lot of Cork players feck off to America now for the next couple of months and do their bits and pieces and, you know, come back and play club hurling and stuff. But, you know, or do their holidays. And it's just a shame. Look, I'm obviously going to say it being for Cork, like, but like a bit of luck or a different break the last day and they'll still be in the championship. But then as someone else put up, like, Cork lost twice in championship, you deserve to go if you lose twice in championship as well. So there's no perfect solution. But look, I think Cork season, even though they didn't get out of Munster, I think Pat has improved the team. I think every Cork supporter is going away with a kind of a disappointment or so early, positivity looking forward to next year. And no one can give out with Cork players.
It does feel more like there's a start of a process here where they have numerous different ways of playing and they're playing to their strengths and they're adapting in-game to problems that they're coming up with, and they're not flaky anymore the way they have been flaky in big games in recent years.
Thanks, sure. So yeah, I get you. No, we've always been perceived as inconsistency and a bit flaky, as you said, and stuff like that. And I thought this year in every game. I think, ironically, the one game they'll be disappointed about was probably the Tipperary game, which they drew. You know, I thought against Clare and Limerick, they gave it their all. But I think it's Tipperary, when you score 4 goals, you're only drawing a game. There's obviously something else wrong. And for me, it was just they were just out-hurled in the middle third. And they're all learnings. And that's a very good management team there. You know, and I think they'll sit back and they'll have a review and see what they need to change. There will be changes next year. I don't think any of those 3 senior players I referred to earlier will go or should go. And I think of all the people in Cork that gets the worst abuse is Damien Callahan, and I thought a season this year was fantastic. And I think I said this to you last time, was they found a full backline in Sean, Niall and Damien, bar and injury and stuff like that. But you still also want, you know, younger players to come in and push them to improve them again. And I'm sure Pat and his management team will look at that. But as a Cork person, as Cork supporters, they gave it their all, they gave it their best. They, like, if you said 2 1-point losses, a draw and a win, you know, it's not a disaster, like.
No, and it's 2 1-point losses to the 2 best teams in the country, as it feels like at the moment. And I'm not from Cork, and I'm not a Munster Hurling whatever. And I do think the system is unfair, and I think there has to be at least a conversation about, like, everybody's given out about the football championship, but actually what we're going to get is the best teams in the knockout games for the quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals. And there's probably a world in which you stop giving the champions a straight bye through to the semi-finals, and that fixes a lot of stuff. But anyway, we have the whole off season to worry about that. But anything on Waterford and Davy this week, like, is that a recovery? Is that enough green shoots to think he needs another season, or does everybody need to go away and just think openly and honestly and have those conversations about what's going on?
I'd be very surprised if he's not there next year after that. You know, I think that, like, there's talks, there's a good few of those lads going to Australia. I don't know how true it is now and how many are going and stuff like that, but, like, I'm always saying this, and people listening and go, well, hold on a second, players can't have power. You sit down as a player and group and say, are you happy with what you have? Because there's no point in saying that they're not, and there's no point in not including them, because if they're not happy with Davy and his management team, they're going to feck off on holidays and do their thing anyway. So you're losing a good team in Waterford. I'll reiterate, this is the golden era of Waterford hurling since the Shanahans, since the Milan, since this. So you need to maximise what you got. There's only one group that are going to decide this, and it's not the supporters and it's not the county board, it's the playing staff and the management. If they're happy in together and if they're willing to pull together and give it a go next year, well, then you go again. If you're not, then something needs to change. And again, obviously you and I are not privy to what's going on down there, but to me, I'd sit down with the players and say, were you happy? And if not, then Davy needs to go, and if they were happy, then Davy will say. And that's what was going to happen for me, like, because, you know, again, it's just they're under pressure because this group is coming to an age where you can just see it passing by and having no success, or you can see them just exploding some year. Like, would you be surprised if Waterford are our final next year? I wouldn't. You know, they have that talent. They've always had that talent, and I've worked firsthand with 2 or 3 of them. Like, and they're very good players and very good lads, but they're just underachieving for what they have. And I think, look, Ken McGrath has spoken out about that enough. So the big thing for me, are the players happy with Davy and his management team? If they are, drive on, give it a go. You know, and if not, then change it up, like, and there's only so much, and I know supporters are frustrated. I'm not saying they're not, but like, it's what goes on behind the camp, and if the players are willing to back him, then drive on. Yeah,
because if they weren't happy, you feel like they would have got blitzed by a Tipperary team who had much more on the line, and that didn't happen. Like, unless they got together separately, and, you know, again, but the county board would need to be on top of that quickly and find that out, so that all the chatter and all the conversation dies, and Davy's at the Waterford Championship matches looking for talent, and all that kind of stuff just happens seamlessly. Or there's a long rolling summer where, you know, knives get sharpened, and it's another fallout, and a new management team is hastily put together. Like, it's not a straightforward thing, is it?
No, I'm a United fan, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a perfect example of that. What are you smiling at?
Yeah. Best of luck with that.
Thanks a million. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a part of that, where you kind of see player power maybe coming in too much, or, you know, even before that, Ralph Rangnick maybe. So you have to strike a balance where the county board say what's best for you and what's best whatever. But at the end of the day, like, you have playing and management staff of 50 people approximately in inter-county level, like, and, you know, if they're all happy, well, then they're going to give it their all. That's all you ever ask. You know, the tactics issue were a little bit strange, but, you know, bar their shooting against Limerick, they could have been 1-for-1 after the Limerick game and kicking on, you know. And I know if your aunt had do you know what I mean, like, and all that kind of stuff, but so, like, and then they beat Tipperary. So are they miles off it? No, listen, nobody in Munster is miles off it. I think that's what you and I are agreeing on here. Munster is just a minefield, and that's the one thing about Cork. There's no God-given right next year that we come back and we're up in the top echelon just because we've achieved what we've achieved this year. Neither do Limerick or Clare having a God-given right either. So, but what I see happening is Davy stays there. If the players want him. If the players don't want him, well, then I can see the county board stepping in.
Okay, we might talk next time about how the rest of the world is adapting to what Limerick are doing in terms of the Paul Kinnerk of the whole thing. We might just have a think about that, because I wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on. We've got a full body of evidence now from this Munster Championship where teams are much closer to Limerick than we thought they were going to be, and they are now beatable. Is that because they've caught up on what Kinnerk is doing? Is that because they've found ways to counteract it, or were Limerick just a little bit off? So that's our homework for the next week, I think.
Great stuff, thanks. I'm normally giving it out as a teacher, but the fact that I'm on summer holidays, I suppose I better do a bit myself.
There you go. And is today the first day, first official day?
Official day, I like the way you put that. Yeah, today is the first official day. Yeah.
Well, I wish you a long, hot summer, Anthony. Great to have you with us.
I'll be up beside you soon enough, sure.
Nice
Fair
one.
play to you.
Thanks a million.
Thanks a million.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Hurling on Off the Ball.
With Board Gosh Energy. Hurling. It's anyone's game.